Welcome, brave listeners, to a place where fear finds its final destination, where the line between fiction and reality fades into a shadowy blur. You've stepped into a world where your deepest anxieties come alive, not just in the recesses of your imagination, but in the very fabric of the stories you're about to hear. In this journey, the tales you'll encounter are more than just words. They're whispers in the dark, echoes of dread that linger long after the last note fades. As you listen, you'll find yourself questioning what's real and what's not, for in this place, the ordinary transforms into the extraordinary, and the familiar becomes something unsettling. So, as you settle in, remember this: you're not just a listener, you're a participant in the unfolding of fear. If you're ready to cross the threshold into a world where the unknown reigns, then let's begin. And before we dive in, if you enjoy what you hear, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a tale. Like, share, and invite others to join us in the shadows, because fear is always better when it's shared. This story was first posted at Patreon by user Tobias D. Title, The Thought. I don't know how long I've been up this time. My eyes are burning, the screen's light cutting through the darkness like a knife. I have to tell this story, even if it sounds insane, even if no one believes me. It's been too long. This thing has haunted me for years, clawing at the edges of my mind, whispering in the silence. It does not matter how far or where I move, it finds me every time. And it all started with a stupid game. A game we shouldn't have played. If you're reading this, don't do it. Don't even think about it. That's how it gets you. That's how it got me. This will be my last action, my warning to you. I grew up in a small, nowhere town. The kind where nothing exciting ever happens and kids looking for something to or just anything at all, to break the monotony. It was the summer before our junior year in high school. Me and my friends, Nick, Ben, and Alex, had exhausted every form of entertainment in our little town. We'd spent our days biking around the empty streets, hanging out at the rundown skate park, and playing video games. But we were bored. Desperately bored. That's when Alex came up with the idea. He'd heard about this game from his cousin, something that sounded risky and thrilling. It was called The Thought. I loved my friends, they were all great in their own way. Alex always had a crazy idea on how to keep us occupied. He was the one who pushed us to do things we wouldn't normally do. Ben was the skeptic, always questioning, but never backing down from a dare. Nick was the quiet one, but he'd follow us into anything. And then there was me. I didn't like to admit it, but I was scared. Scared of the dark, scared of the unknown. But I never wanted to be left out. I wanted to be brave, to prove myself. So when Alex said we should play The Thought, I agreed, even though every instinct I had told me it was a bad idea. The thought was simple, at least on the surface. You needed 4 people, a dark room, a single lit candle, and a mirror. The game had to be played at night, in the dark, with only the candle's flickering light. Each player would sit in a circle, facing the mirror, with the candle in the center. The game began when the first person stared into their own reflection and said, "I invite you in, thought." From there, the players would take turns repeating the phrase, staring into the mirror, until something happened. What was supposed to happen? Alex said it varied. His cousin told him that you'd start to see things, feel things. That the thought would start to speak to you. The goal was to last the longest without breaking, without looking away from the mirror or blowing out the candle. The one who broke first, who gave in, lost. And the thought? It would stay with them. Forever. It sounded stupid, like one of those urban legends people make up to scare kids. But there was something about the way Alex described it, something in his voice that made my skin crawl. He seemed excited, more excited than I'd ever seen him. And the more he talked about it, the more curious we all became. We agreed to play it that night, in the basement of Ben's house. His parents were out of town, and the basement was dark and quiet, the perfect place for something like this. What he seemed to forgotten to tell us is the only way to loose the thought are to die or to find a new person to win over. I remember sitting there, the four of us in a circle, the candlelight casting long, eerie shadows on the walls. The mirror was propped up on a chair, reflecting our pale, nervous faces. We took turns saying the words, "I invite you in," thought. At first, nothing happened. We laughed, joking about how dumb it was, how Alex's cousin had probably made the whole thing up. But then, something shifted. The air grew colder, the darkness thicker, and the candle's flame flickered as if a breeze had passed through, though the basement was sealed. I felt a chill run down my spine, a sensation like icy fingers trailing across my skin. I could see it in the others' faces too, the fear, the realization that this wasn't just a game. Then, we heard it. A whisper, soft and distant, echoing in the silence. I couldn't make out the words, but it sent a jolt of terror through me. I wanted to look away, to blow out the candle, to stop. But I couldn't. The thought had taken hold. The basement felt alive, like it was breathing, pulsing with an unseen energy. Shadows twisted and danced along the walls, taking on shapes that shouldn't be there. Faces, hands, eyes, all flickering at the edge of my vision. I could feel something watching us, something just beyond the candlelight, lurking in the darkness. The whispering grew louder, more insistent, filling my mind, drowning out everything else. My heart was pounding, my hands were shaking, but I couldn't move. I was trapped, paralyzed by the thought. I could see the same terror in Ben's eyes, in Nick's trembling hands. But Alex was different. He was smiling, his eyes wide and gleaming with a strange light. He leaned closer to the mirror, almost like he was listening, like he could hear something the rest of us couldn't. That night changed everything. We all felt it. When the candle finally went out, when the game was over, the darkness felt wrong. It was as if something had followed us out, something we couldn't see but could feel. We tried to brush it off, to laugh it away, but we all knew. We all knew that something had happened down there, something we couldn't explain. Over the next few weeks, things got worse. I started hearing the whispers even when I was alone, seeing shadows moving in the corners of my eyes. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. The thought was always there, lurking, waiting. I felt it in my dreams, in the silence, in the dark. I tried to talk to the others, but they wouldn't listen. Ben and Nick avoided me, their eyes haunted, their faces pale. Alex had changed. He became obsessed, talking about the thought like it was a friend, like it was something to be worshipped. He said it had shown him things he couldn't describe. His smile was empty, his eyes cold. It was like he wasn't even there anymore. The thought was no longer just a whisper. It was a presence, a dark, slithering thing that crawled through my mind, whispering in my ear, urging me to do things. Terrible things. I started seeing it, out of the corner of my eye, a dark figure, a shadow that shouldn't be there. It would stand at the foot of my bed, watching, waiting. I'd feel its cold breath on my neck, its icy fingers trailing down my spine. I was losing my mind, and I knew it. But no one would believe me. They said I was just stressed, that it was all in my head. But I knew the truth. The thought was real, and it was coming for me. It was only a matter of time before I broke. The thought had consumed me, taken everything I had. I couldn't sleep, couldn't think, couldn't live. It was always there, whispering, screaming, demanding. It wanted me to end it, to do the one thing that would set me free. I tried to fight it, to resist, but I was too tired. Too tired to fight anymore. Tonight, I sit alone in the dark, the shadows closing in. The thought is here, louder than ever, filling my mind with its dark commands. I can see it now, standing in the corner, a black figure with eyes that gleam like the void. It's smiling at me, its mouth stretching wide, too wide. It knows I've lost. It knows I'm ready. I pick up the knife, the cold metal glinting in the darkness. The thought is in my head, its voice a deafening roar. Do it, do it, do it. My hands are shaking, my heart is pounding, but I know what I have to do. It's the only way to make it stop. The only way to be free. I take a deep breath, close my eyes, and press the blade to my skin. For a moment, there is silence. The thought is gone, replaced by a sudden, overwhelming sense of peace. I feel weightless, free. The pain is sharp, but it's over quickly. I can feel the darkness closing in, the world fading away. As I slip into the darkness, I see it one last time. The thought, smiling, satisfied. It's over. I'm finally won. Afterward. If you're reading this, don't play the game. Don't even think about it. The thought is real, and once it's in your mind, it never leaves. It's always there, waiting, lurking in the shadows. And one day, it will come for you, as it came for me. And you'll understand why I did what I did. You'll understand that sometimes, the only way to escape the darkness is to let it consume you.